Masquerade say, More Zimbabwe, welcome to our channel, Zim Confessions and Deep Secrets. Kanakari Tanka Kukrapani ino channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Kawachingwa gara subscribe, but don't forget to comment and share this video. Nas More Zimbabwe tagigirai, nyae habuditskwa. Na former Northern legislator Temba Mliswa, our Buddha, wachitaura about kufa kwa the late Air Force of Zimbabwe commander and former Agriculture Minister Perence Shiri wa Zimbabwe. Wabuda wachitaura on his ex-endo about kufa kwa Perence Shiri. Temba Mliswa wakabula accused ne ex-wife yabo Susan Mutami achitaura iye achiti Temba Mliswa is to blame for ufuru wa Perence Shiri chinza akatumwa na mayokusila Mnangagwa unoraya Perence Shiri. Now Temba Mliswa abrega his silence on the death ya Perence Shiri. Zimu aya Buddha vachitaura pamsoro penao iyo vachitaura vachiti outspoken former Northern legislator Temba Mliswa has proposed the creation of a foundation to honor the late Air Force of Zimbabwe commander and former Agriculture Minister Perence Shiri 5 years after his death. Writing on his X account, Mliswa described Shiri as an exceptional leader whose intellect and humility he claimed set him apart from many in Zimbabwe's post-independence political and military elite. On the 29th of July, we commemorated the 5th anniversary of the passing of Air Marshal Perence Shiri, Gudoguru Muturikwa, a titan of our times. He wielded power, yet embodied a profound humility and groundedness that set him apart from many, Mliswa posted. A distinguished Zanla Kader, he rose to command Tete province at a notably young age, leaving an indelible mark on the military and the nation. Engagements with him often revealed a striking intellect. His mind was as formidable as his presence. We do ourselves a disservice when we neglect the establishment of foundations or other avenues for preserving our history, under which the legacies of such heroes can be reflected upon and honored. May his soul find eternal peace. However, Mliswa's tribute was met with sharp criticism online for its silence on Shiri's controversial role as a commander during the Kukuraundi massacres of the early 1980s, a dark chapter in Zimbabwean history, in which an estimated 20,000 civilians, mostly from the Wele ethnic group in Matabeleland and Midlands, were killed. Perence Shiri, born Big Boy Samson Chikerema, led the elite North Korean trained 5th Brigade at the height of Kukuraundi between 1983 and 1987. The brigade was accused of widespread atrocities, including torture, mass killings, and the destruction of entire villages. She later became known as Black Jesus, a nickname linked to both fear and the brutal impunity associated with the 5th Brigade's actions. Despite his military record, she transitioned into politics after Robert Mugabe's ouster in 2017, when Emerson Mnangagwa appointed him Minister of Lands, Agriculture and Rural Resettlement. In that role, he was credited by some with stabilizing grain production and reforming combined agriculture before his disputed COVID-19 complications death in 2020. Critics argue that tributes like Mliswa's attempt to sanitize history by overlooking the victims of Kukuraundi and the trauma that persists to this day. Critics argue that tributes like Mliswa's attempt to sanitize history by overlooking the victims of Kukuraundi and the trauma that persists to this day. One online user wrote, "We cannot build foundations to honor those whose hands are soaked in innocent blood while the victims remain forgotten." Shiri's legacy remains deeply polarizing. To some, a liberation war hero, a competent technocrat; to others, an unrepentant architect of state terror whose role in Kukuraundi casts an indelible shadow over any honor that may be proposed in his name. 5 years after his death, that debate remains unresolved and reminders of the country's painful past continue to surface whenever his nickname is invoked. ndo mabuditsiro akatwa muri Zimbabwe ndezimai tingazive kuti munoiona sei taura kwatiri kuita. Susan Mutami akabuda achiaccuse Temba Mliswa of killing Perence Shiri. In audio yatotanga kusiyira muchinzwa mwamadza zvamuri kufunga mucomment section.
But Temba is the reason why most people are dead as we speak. Perence Shiri, Temba hooked up his sister with Perence Shiri. Murikundinzwa here? Temba hooked up his sister with Perence Shiri. Ndishokudza inyaya yekwashiri. I mentioned it on the other space, but vamwe venyu manga musipo. He hooked up his sister with Perence Shiri. Perence Shiri started dating the sister. Actually, I wanted control of March Central. Achida March Central kudaro, they connived kuti Perence Shiri. Inoza zveshe kuti unenge uchimanajewa kasenge zvavaifunga kuti vari kuita kwandiri. Perence went to Mashonaland Central to function yanga iriko with his aide na driver. Asvika ikoko, and in fact before he went there he had already been tipped. Kana ndanyepaka vanhu ngavauye vataura kuti no you're lying. Anga atotipirwa kunzi chef kwamuri kuenda uko mupane zviri kuitika muda kupoisoniwa because military intelligence inenge itori information before CIO. So someone had already tipped them. Senge zvakaitika pavakandimisa kuairport, military had already been tipped kuti vada kundimisa. Saka what happened? Perence akaenda kuya. The bodyguard zvakanyorwa newspaper. That was the correct sequence of my events. The food came because avanga vaudzwa kudhara kuti ndozvoda kuitika. Bodyguard akati chikafu tamamuda kupa chef icho ndipei ndichidye. Ndotanga ndadya inini first. And that guy died. That aide. May his soul rest in peace. It's not only Temba anoita izvozvo. It's a network of people, network of assassins. Vaanoshanda navo vekuCIO. Chances are, if you have ever had a conversation with Temba, that conversation is kumared brick kokakwe. Perence ate the second plate. Yanga ina aid. Yanga vaisira aid. Wanga vaisa futi poison imomo. That man uipa akatanga kurutsa ropa mukomana uyu. Akabva abuda nemota because you know how it is maminister anofamba neconvoy. Akabuda nemota yavanga vaenda nayo yechi2. Perence akazoteera kuHarare. Asvika kuHarare, they had withdrawn security yekumba kwake. Ndikuudzei, no one talks about it. I would say it. They had withdrawn his security. Kwakusina PPE. A war minister is supposed to have PPE. Is supposed to have personal protective unit. Personal protective unit. Iyo PPE. Vaimbogada kwa Mnangagwa ndichiri kugara kwa achiri minister. Bekuzvetarapi. Akasvika kumba kwake kusina security. Akafonera vana moyo. Akafonera even VP Perence. Story yemuherald yekuti anzi Temba akazosvika ipapo ndiyanga ari he made himself look like a star of the show. That is not true. I will tell you inini ndinoziva nyaya yacho ine mhadzi dzaitaura. Zvinhu zvemuherald kamunofanira kutora muchiisa salt because panenge paiswa chicken salt. Zvimwe zvacho ndezvekunyepa. Saka what happened? They had instructed my private hospitals not to admit him. That man died going from one hospital to the other looking for help. He was vulnerable. That's why I wrote he died like a fly. I'm sorry to the family. The family had approached me and said, you know what, Susan? Isusu we know what happened and it's not tirwadzawo. But tukumbiro tusataure nezvazvo kana neno ndotorwadziwa. He died like a fly because of keeping characters like Temba around. Perence called Temba. Temba delayed coming. He even called Mskana Sisiva Temba wanga achidanana naye akanzi andiko ndiri kufama. The same guy who had given Temba a farm for his sister akati azvitoti ndidi ndikupe prasi zvevanhu vachi akapiwa prasi randakambonyorera nchiti varungu ndo vanofama uko hausiwo unorima iwewe. Zvekuti hanzi hey, I've had people call me siyape ukama, and I've got people that I respect. Vanandichitaura navo vachiti aiwa usapfumire baba vemwana wako. No, my son does not need those people. My son already has a community here. Even if I'm to die today, the Australians, they will never give Temba mwana. They will put him in, if none of my relatives want my children, they will put them in foster care, and they will make sure these children, they grow in a way yokuti, may say mimi you will be shocked yokuti ndo vana vasuze now. They killed Perence Shiri. Temba, Auxilia, the sisters, they are involved in that death. They murdered that man. That's why you saw the drama raakazoita kumariro akumhanya akabata envelope yanga ikanzi afa neCovid-19. Baba vaye vakafa vachirutsa ropa. Don't listen to zimwe kuti anzi shortness of breath was one of them. He died a very painful death. Kana vanga vachi, why couldn't he be admitted at a hospital? One of the owners, inini I knew everyone kakuharare. Even pavakati baba vemwana wangu vafa paya, I called a few private hospitals ndichida kunzwa kuti zveshuwa here vakambouya. Remember vakanyepa vachiti hanzi he died at a private hospital in Harare. I called a few private hospitals kwandaiziva kuti uku anoenda, ndikafona kumanyame ndikabvunza masosi angu ekumanyame zvikanzi hakuna zvakadaro. Tiu ndakazoziva chokwadi of what happened. So you are dealing with a murderer. I just want you to know, you are dealing with a murderer. The other day I made a tweet and I did Nelson Chamisa is compromised. Most of you did not understand why I had said he's compromised. He's not compromised as in I said he's corrupt. No. Because of the people that are around him.